Well, the business side of the Chinese president's state visit to Washington is pretty much complete. Tonight comes the hoopla. The menu and guest for this evening's state dinner, the third of the Obama presidency, still have not been released. How do we know House Speaker John Boehner and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid were among the invitees but declined? Well, we do know that. They and other leaders of Congress will meet with President Hu tomorrow on Capitol Hill. Later tomorrow, President Hu travels to the only other U.S. city on his itinerary, Chicago. And a Chicago businessman from Motorola is among the chief executives who met with President Obama and President Hu at the White House today. I'm joined now by the CEO of Motorola Solutions, Greg Brown. He's also on the executive committee of the U.S.-China Business Council. Greg, thanks for being with us. I hope the translation that you had in your meeting was more effective than the one that we had at the press conference. But tell me what happened in your meeting with President Obama and President Hu and a whole lot of other CEOs from the U.S. and China.
I think it was a relatively abbreviated meeting, but a constructive one, Ali, and a good one. We talked about mutual opportunities and creating a bilateral investment climate of a win-win, and that irrespective of the political ebb and flows, one of the constants has been U.S. business investment in China. Motorola's been in China for 2.5 decades. So we talked about some of the things that we both could do together.
And you have been. Motorola has been there for a long time. There have been a number of American companies. We talk about General Motors, which sold more cars in China last year than it did in the United States. What are the issues for companies like yours and others that are well entrenched in China? What would you like to see done differently? What evolution in that business relationship that will help you be more profitable here and employ more people in the United States could you want to see?
So I think that the relationship and the experience in China to date has been very positive, but that said, we did talk about areas for improvement. One would be leveling the playing field. So making sure that U.S. companies like Motorola Solutions and others have equal access and a level playing field to compete for Chinese government contracts as we go against indigenous providers within the country. The second was intellectual property. A lot of U.S. multinational companies develop R&D, follow a very sophisticated patent process, and it is fundamental that the respect and adherence to intellectual property laws and rules and regulations is very key. So those were two areas we talked about. President Hu acknowledged IPR in one of his top comments. He said that it's a high priority, it's evolving, and he has every intention of ensuring equal treatment between U.S. companies and Chinese companies as we compete in China.
The preferential treatment that Chinese companies get in China has less to do with U.S. companies. It's all sorts. It's basically the tier is that traditionally Chinese companies have had a certain treatment and companies based in other countries have had a different treatment, and you're trying to level that playing field.
That's right. That's right. So whether it be subsidies or if a U.S. multinational company like Motorola Solutions comes in to compete for business in China, making sure that the requirements and the opportunity to win the business is equal to a U.S. company or any other company. Those are some of the things we talked about.
For our viewer, Greg, who doesn't run a big business, what's the bigger issue in China? Is it greater access to being able to manufacture more, or is it getting access to their growing middle class, which is going to buy more?
I think it's open market access and getting access for U.S. product and services to the evolving middle class. So China's growing at 9 or 10% GDP growth a year. The U.S. economy is recovering, but we want to make sure that we have ample opportunity to sell all U.S. products and services into that enormous market that's growing rapidly.
And Greg, do you believe that that will help employ more people in the United States?
Absolutely. I think for every billion of exports, it supports 5,000 jobs here in the U.S. I do think it's a misperception that exports takes jobs away, and export more, it creates and protects more U.S.-based jobs. So I know it'll be good for the U.S.